Welcome to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm Brad Williams. My guest today is singer-songwriter Aubrie Sellers, and this is a conversation about a really compelling project. Her album, Attachment Theory, is more than just a collection of songs. It's a concept record built around relationships, vulnerability, and the emotional patterns that shape how we connect with other people. When we recorded this conversation, the album had not yet been released. Now it's officially out in the world, available to hear, and it's an incredible listen. In this episode, Aubrie and I talk about how the album came together, why it led her to create a companion podcast about attachment theory, and how she's learned to build a music career around who she actually is, an introvert, a deep thinker, and someone who values authenticity over just playing the game. We also get into the cinematic sound of the record, the rawness she loves in music, and why polished doesn't always have to mean lifeless. Here's my conversation with Aubrie Sellers.
Nuclear reaction, break me down to size. Opposites attract, and you're always the anti. Elemental changes, structure rearranges. Now I'm subatomic, 'cause you're just being honest. Break up part the parts of me that aren't what you want them to be, and make me smaller, subatomic.
Aubrie, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. How are things today?
Great, thank you. It's a beautiful day. It's actually hot outside. I'm
I know.
amazed.
I know. I went out earlier and I was like, okay, I'm going to need to spend some time outside this afternoon. So
Yes.
it's really wonderful. I know you have an exciting first quarter of 2026 with new music and new album. And how is everything going for you so far?
Good. I can't believe we're so close to the album actually coming out. I feel like it always feels like this, but behind the scenes, it's such a long process. And then all of a sudden it feels like it's all happening at once. So very exciting.
Yeah. As we're recording this, we're just less than 2 weeks away from the album release. Is that right? Yeah.
That's right. And I posted something about, I have an upcoming tour with Jay Jackson, and I posted something about that yesterday, and she reposted it and said, "Who's coming to see us in a few weeks?" And I was like, oh, a few weeks. I haven't even made the set list.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly those things can just kind of sneak up on you, and then it's time to go and do it. Yeah. Where all are you guys playing on your tour?
We are going, it's mostly in the Southeast on this first run. So Birmingham, Louisville, Nashville, Atlanta, and a couple Texas dates, Dallas, which is one of my favorite places to play, and Austin. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw on your tour list that you're playing Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta. I've used to live in Atlanta and played at Smith's many times. So
Oh, really?
I love that room. Yeah.
Great. I haven't been there. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's fun. Don't worry about the load in. It's not a very fun load in, but everything
Okay.
else about it is amazing.
Is it some tall stairs or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. One of my craziest gig moments was watching a band carry a B3 up those stars to go into Smith's. And when you get there, you're going to remember this conversation and going to be like, oh, wow, those people were nuts. It was crazy. I am just loving the new album. I've been listening to it ahead of this conversation, and it's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really good. And it just, it is such a sonic experience to listen to it from front to back. I love the choices that you all made. First of all, the songs are amazing, and I can't wait to dig in and just chat about where you were in life to write some of those. Whatever you're willing to talk to me about with that. And just the creative process that happened of putting them down to record, with just some of the choices you made with some of the effects on your vocals. It's just so, it sounds like it could have been recorded 40 years ago, but it could have been recorded 40 years from now, all at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
That's like the greatest compliment ever. Thank you. I love
Yeah,
that.
it has this timeless quality about it, but it also sounds like certain eras all at the same time. I really love that. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, tell me. I would love to hear about just where you were in your career with in choosing to write this piece that is this album. I mean, I think it feels like a singular work from front to back in a lot of ways. You know.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this is a concept record more so than my other two records, my other two solo records. I think, I didn't go into writing. I didn't come up with the idea and then write songs for it. I started writing songs and feeling like that was naturally where it led. And then especially when I wrote the title track, Attachment Theory, I was actually in this room. That's where I wrote it. And that's when I kind of started to develop the whole concept of the record and feeling like all the songs were leading to the same place, or maybe like different moments in a relationship journey. So, and seemed to revolve around that subject matter. So that's where the concept came from. And then it naturally evolved with the podcast element that pairs with it, which is I guess I would see the record as sort of an emotional experience. And then the podcast is more of a concrete partner to it. And, I think music can be very healing on its own, but I'm also just very interested I'm a big reader and very curious person and have been interested in attachment theory and relationship psychology. And so I thought, why don't I do something more concrete? Because I would enjoy doing that and sharing the things that I've learned. So, for each song on the record, there's a podcast episode for each song that pairs with it and sort of gives a little advice and a little personal experience with the subject matter of the song. So it's not about the music, but it's about relationships. It's a relationship podcast.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been listening to it as well, and it's interesting that it feels like a companion piece to the album. But also, the album could almost feel like a companion to the podcast. It has this dual role, which I really, really like. And I have to confess that there have been listening to the podcast, that there were some moments where I was like, I think I've been on both sides of this conversation. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I have been.
No,
100%.
I even talk a little bit about in terms of attachment theory, it's not a static thing either. It depends on the relationship you're in, and what the other person is. It's kind of like there's a polarity or a stasis maybe that you can get into. So it's 100% normal. I have too. I've experienced being on, more anxious in a relationship, more avoidant in a relationship, and hopefully with another secure person, more secure. So I've experienced all those feelings. And I think they're feelings that we all have. It's just to which degree. And maybe a lot of us, especially people who tend to push further one way or the other, have a sort of closer to a default. But yes, I think it's totally normal to be on both sides of these conversations.
Yeah. I thought the idea of a podcast with each episode being about, the title of the track is such a cool idea. Which do you feel more comfortable, singing the songs or talking about those things? Because being a person who's a musician and is a singer, this whole thing that we're doing right now feels like some uncharted territory for me. And it's like required me to develop this muscle that I probably didn't feel comfortable having. And I don't know how it's felt for you.
Totally. I am very introverted, which is part of the reason why I chose to do my podcast alone. So it's, I don't have guests on my podcast, although we've talked about doing maybe some bonus guest episodes, but I can just do it sitting in my bedroom and I can write an outline and sort of have it, and I edit it myself. So it's been, it was a learning process for sure, because it's something I'd never done. But at the same time, since I get to do it by myself, that made it a little bit more comfortable for me. But yeah, obviously singing is very comfortable for me, at least in the studio, maybe not always live. But yeah, so in a lot of ways, I like doing the podcast because I can do it alone in my bedroom, as an introvert. But I love being in the studio too. So it's sort of similar to that. as getting on stage and being on tour is a little bit harder for me, although I've gotten thankfully way more comfortable than I used to be doing it. But yeah, I can be very aware of everything, especially in a smaller audience, what everyone is, you can basically hear everyone breathing. Like you can see their reactions. And as someone who's very empathetic and almost hyper vigilant, that can be actually more of a challenge for me sometimes.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I would rather sing in front of 10,000 than 100 sometimes. I have moments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people I don't know versus people I do know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I go through, and I don't know what it's been like for you, but I would go through phases where I would be fine for 12 months. And then I would go through like a 3 or 4 month period where for some reason I would just have weird stage fright. And then it would just go away again. Have you ever had periods like that?
That's good. I would say mine was a little more, I still get it a little bit sometimes, but I had it very severely when I first started, and it went on for years and years. And I kept thinking, like, at some point it's just going to go away, right? Like keep doing it, I'll just get comfortable. But I think for me, what it was actually working on my general anxiety and working on my mindset more so. That ended up helping me in the end than just exposure or experience, if that makes sense. So I would say if I'm like right now, I haven't toured as much as I was at one point in a while. I've been out with Parker McCollum singing background vocals and singing my own stuff with him sometimes. But I'd say when I step away for a minute or a little out of practice, I guess you could say, it's stronger. The anxiety is stronger then. But otherwise, I do not have it to the degree that I used to, which was literally I would be opening up. And of course, also I was opening up for great artists. So that made me 10 times more nervous. But like I would be out on the road with Marty Stewart, who's just like as seasoned pro as you can get. And I'm, brand new with just my acoustic and and a guitar player. And I would literally cry, just a horrible stage fright. And I would I had these coloring books that were like adult coloring books that I would use as a form of meditation, just to try to do something just to get my mind off of, not just sitting there all day in anticipation of the show. But I actually had a therapist tell me a really helpful thing one time, which was to see the performance as just another moment in my day instead of everything in my day is leading up to this moment. And that really helped kind of not devalue it, but, knock it off a pedestal in a way. And so now I kind of see it as now I'm doing this part of my day. I'm over here, brushing my teeth, I'm eating, and now I'm on stage and now I'm off stage. It's just kind of
so great. Yeah.
That really helped me a lot. So that's kind of what I think of it now is this is not some huge event that I need to structure my whole life around. It's just another part of my day as a musician and as a person.
Yeah. I think sometimes, why do we, and that just, I guess that's just a testament to feeling that you have to give your art and your soul to the world, because it's like, why on earth would we put ourselves through this for any other reason than that, right?
I had
I
was going to say after 2020, so I put out my last solo record February 2020. So that was right before everything shut down. And during that time period, I had a kind of reckoning with myself where I felt so relieved that I had this break that I thought, okay, this is telling me something. I'm not sure what yet. So it took me a minute to figure it out. But and so I took a little bit of a break. I went back to school. I got my degree in political science and international relations. And just did some other things, and then realized, okay, if I'm going to do this again, I need to do it in a way that is more, like you said, structured towards who I am as a person. Because it is why would I, as such an introverted, sensitive person, why would I keep putting myself through this? Mm-hmm. And then I realized it's one, like I said, about mindset, but two, about, structuring not just your art, but your business and your life in a way that is suited to your personality. So I've tried to do that a little more and take that into account when I'm saying yes to things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to, I'm not going to spend any time talking about, we both know who your parents are and all of that, and that's okay. We're not going to focus on that. But did you feel early on a certain amount of pressure that came from that because of, I would imagine that would
Absolutely.
be an enormous amount of pressure. Yeah.
Yes. I felt like too, because I was born in Nashville and, this is Music City. And where am I going to play that people aren't going to see me that know, my family or whatever. And it's kind of like, how can I get that same experience that other people are allowed to get without the judgment early on, So
Sure.
that was definitely put a lot more pressure on me, and actually ended up finding a bar like outside of town to play my first couple shows at, so that, hopefully there wouldn't be as many people there that might know, and I would feel a little relieved. But even putting out music and everything, yeah, I mean, I felt pressure for sure. But thankfully too, like my music is not exactly like my family's. So, while like, for instance, my vocally, even with my dad and my mom, sound similar to them in ways, but my music's different. So I think that kind of helps distinguish it a little bit. And like you said, I don't focus on it. So a lot of people, because I have my dad's last name, will listen to me even for years and not know, which is fun. Always fun when somebody tells me, oh my God, I found this out and I had no idea. So that helps me a little bit, just feel like I'm my own person.
You have certainly forged your own path in an amazing way, and I love the way you write. I love and then the way that you deliver the honesty around the story you're telling. So yeah, it's really wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about Nashville. I lived in Nashville 100 years ago, and I always like to ask people that live there now just about how much that scene and just the city in general has changed probably in your lifetime, and just even in the past 10 to 15 years. It's incredible.
Yeah. So I was born in 1991. So it was a very different city than it is now. As you know, like probably, I mean, I guess we can't necessarily credit it all to the TV show Nashville, but it did seem like that put Nashville on the map as far as when it all kind of took off. Yeah. I mean, even driving around, I'm like, there will be new buildings or places sprouted up that I've never seen, and a street will look completely different. So there's just, practical things like that. But, I wish that this city had been able to anticipate better what was happening, so that they could have protected Music Row and some of the old, historic buildings and places a little better. And even things that have nothing to do with music. Like, we had this bowling alley in Donaldson, which is where I lived when I was growing up. And, now it's like a condo building and, just things like that. It's hard because prices have shot up so much that it's hard for, businesses that have been here forever to keep up. So it's sad in that way. But there's also cool things happening, and it's made it a very interesting and diverse place. I miss a little bit of it seems like downtown's becoming sort of a caricature of itself, almost like a, New Orleans situation or something.
I agree.
But I miss kind of the authentic Nashville. But yeah, there's also some cool things happening because of it, and it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, I live in St. Louis now, and we go down every now and then, and I'm just like, wow, the traffic. It's like but and there's so many people. It's unbelievable.
It is. I
Yeah.
actually just bought land about 45 minutes away, so I'm going to be living a quieter life.
Good for you. Good for you. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you some questions. I want to talk a little bit about the new album, which again is releasing on March 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I'm so excited about that. I know you and Ethan Ballinger have worked together. Is this the third album that you guys have worked together on?
So he didn't. Well, yes, because the Jackson Sellers record, my duo project, we co-produced that together as well. And then he played on Far From Home, my second album. So he's been around for a long time, and I absolutely love working with him. We have very similar music brains.
Yeah. How do you collaborate with people that you've worked with in the past and I guess find new ground, stay true to what you've done in the past, but kind of forge a new path on a project?
We do have a little bit of a discussion about it, obviously, before going into the studio, and do a little pre-production, which we did on the Jackson Sellers record. For instance, on that record, I remember we really were talking about having this more warm, vintage rock feel. And, that record was perfect for vinyl. And and we had some references, although we don't reference things directly a lot. But we kind of just have a shorthand. I feel like we get what we're saying, which is why it's so great working with him. But on this record, obviously, there was the concept element of it. And then we'll just talk about you can hear on some of the guitars on this, like I had talked about a little bit of like shoegaze, bringing that into this record specifically, not on everything, but you can hear it a little bit on some of the guitar stuff like subatomic, and a little more ethereal in a lot of places. Overall, also, it's like I don't want to say darker record, but it's, it's kind of a heartbreak record. And there's not as many like barn burning rockers as on my other two albums. And so all of that, I think, just naturally comes together. And then we are, have worked together for so long that we can kind of have those discussions. But I think so much of it is just a reflection of both of our tastes in general as musicians and artists and writers. And then, we'll have a little tweak here and there depending on the project.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you try? I love all of the effects on your vocal. It sets such a tone, almost a setting to the track by just kind of adding this additional thing onto your vocal. Were you all experimental with a lot of that, or did you kind of have a vision on what you wanted to do on each one of those songs?
Yeah, it was a little bit of experimenting for sure. We had a new engineer that I hadn't worked with before, Jeremy Ferguson, on this record, who I absolutely love. And a lot of making this record was just me, Ethan, and him in the control room at his studio, which is at his house in East Nashville. Bandwich Tapes is the name of it. And we were just sort of playing around, and we, we would use different mics to get, weird sounds, and we would run vocals through, tape echoes, and obviously Jeremy has all kinds of cool plugins and things that he loves to use that we would experiment with. And so it was really all three of us messing around with sounds and getting what we wanted. We do everything from find a sample on an iPad to very like old school analog, stuff. So it's kind of all over the map and just whatever we kind of connect with in the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you find, do you go and do you listen to certain artists, certain albums kind of as like a reference point or a starting point when you're working on a project like this to say, this is the headspace that I want to get in, or maybe this is where I want to draw some sonic information from? Do you ever pull from things like that?
Sometimes I will use something as a reference if I can't, if I feel like I can't articulate it well. But I think I don't do that a ton because, one, I want to, not copy anything, but two,
Sure.
Two, I also think like the people I get in the room, where there's the engineer, Ethan, and the other players, I want to give them a general vision, but I also want to leave room for what happens when we're in there, and everybody's bringing their own ideas and their own personal artistic flair and flavor to the songs. So yeah, I'd say it's more of a general idea and map, and then seeing what happens organically as well, rather than, because I know there are some people who straight up like, I want it to sound like this record and reference something, and then want to like, I don't want to say copy, but pretty, try to nail it exactly like that. And there's a little bit, hopefully, more room for creativity when we work on stuff together.
Yeah. I would say the word that I was thinking of when I was listening to it, it's almost cinematic. There's a cinematic element to it. Almost feels like a soundtrack to a story.
I love that.
Does that word resonate with you?
Absolutely.
On this?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's been something from the beginning for me. You can hear it on some of my songs, and I think it's gotten progressively more so with each record. And I think probably a huge part of that, and Ethan as well, we are cinephiles. Like, we love the movies. Both of us go to the movies probably every week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love movies. I even grew up doing acting and went to acting school. So, honestly, probably naturally just loving that is going to affect you and kind of how you hear things and how you even see things when coming up with the creative vision for it. But yeah, I absolutely think so. I think when I sit down and listen to music and put headphones on, I want to be transported, so I think cinematic is a great word and something that bleeds into everything I do, probably.
When he's looking up at me, all I can see are candy-coated castles in the sky. We could live up there, we could climb those stairs, and if we get too tired, we can fly. Never been more sure of anything. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm delusional. But I want you.
With doing this project and then doing the companion podcast, have you tried to keep, I think, as an artist, you probably you want to keep a little bit of a wall up, you want to protect yourself from maybe from the public, or have you felt like you've been wanting to maintain that by maybe being a little more vulnerable with this and as well as the podcast? Or do you feel like you're kind of breaking some walls down doing that?
Well, all of my songs always have come from a pretty personal place. So there's always that element of it. But, with songs, they're usually not 100%, factual. So there is always a little bit of, leave room for interpretation and all of that. With the podcast, I try to include some of my personal experience without, I don't name names or get super specific just because I don't think that's necessary, first of all. But yeah, I think too, I do retain some level, hopefully, of privacy.
Sure.
But I'm trying to connect with people in the ways that I think matter, which are the emotional experiences that we have. And I think you can share that and people get it without having to, I don't know, it has to be like a 100% autobiographical journal that's super, factually
right,
dense, if you will.
Yes.
So yeah, I think this whole project and the concept behind it has been very vulnerable. But I mean, maybe too, I would say with social media, even I've gotten more, on my first two records, I had social media, but it was not a big part of my brain or my everyday. It was like, I post on here whenever. Now that it's become such a big part of the business, and also when I had my little break and was trying to figure out what I want to do moving forward, I actually started to embrace social media a little bit more, because not only does it allow me to connect with people directly, and I can do that from anywhere. I don't have to be on tour or on stage, but also I think it allows me to have more of those personal connections with people. And I'm somebody who, like, I respond to people on my socials. I genuinely love when people, come and say they listen to the podcast and connected with X, Y, or Z from it. Because I'm not doing it as just a promotional tool. I'm doing it because it's something I am genuinely interested in, and really wanted, hopefully, this project in some way to potentially help someone. So, so I'm trying to be vulnerable enough to make that happen in a way that counts.
Yeah. Have you had, I was going to ask you about that. If people have reached out to you after listening to the podcast, and just how some of that content has resonated with them. Have you heard
Absolutely.
from some listeners?
Yes. Yeah. And, obviously I love when people say anything about the music and connecting with the music, but this has been really cool because, one, I've never done it before. So, I had no idea if people were going to listen at all, much less, like it. So, I have had people, yes, genuinely say, like, I got this out of it, and bring up certain moments or certain things that were said. And so it definitely makes me happy, because it's exactly what I hoped would happen with it.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to keep going with the podcast once you cross the finish line with the tracks, or do you think it's kind of going to be with this and then you're going to move on to something else?
I may do something podcast related, and I've been thinking about it because I do enjoy doing the podcast, but I don't think I would continue doing a relationship podcast. I do think this project is very specific to the record, and also, I'm a super multi-interested person, and I think after 11 episodes about relationships, I would be ready to move on to something else. So I love doing the podcast. Probably won't continue it as Attachment Theory, but I may do something else because I have enjoyed it. And like I said, I would love to do a podcast where I'm talking about all kinds of subjects. I'm a super, like I said, curious person, but I love to research. And so if I could, I get random things I'm interested in and start hyper researching them. And if I could share some of that and people would be interested in that, then I would love to do that.
Oh, you could just do each season about a new something else that you're, into. That would be amazing. Yeah. I'll tell you, doing this kind of started out as a little hobby for me. And it's turned into one of the most enjoyable things that I get to do, is just sitting here and having conversations like this, and just understanding the because I think, and I don't know how it feels for you in music, but the process behind it all, to me, is like the most thrilling thing to hear about, and just hear how everyone's process is a little different. I imagine your songwriting process is different from someone else, or how you approach phrasing a vocal or recording a vocal. And it's just so interesting to hear all these different perspectives about these things.
I think that's really important too, for people who are maybe wanting to get into music, to realize that there is no one way to do anything, whether it's the creation process or the business side of things. There are people who have literally now I saw a video of a guy, and I don't remember his name because honestly, it was a different genre that I'm not super familiar with, but he had millions of followers on TikTok, I think. And he went to do a Spotify session, and he said it was the first time he had been in a real studio, because he had done everything from his bedroom and had millions of followers. And, so there's people like that. And then there's people who have been road dogging it their whole career and doing it like a more traditional way, and don't even have, I know a girl that I've become friends with recently named Shelby Stone. She's an artist out of Texas, and she's very much like, I don't want to say anti-streaming and everything, but she's, selling her own music directly online, and, like touring heavily and sort of doing it that way. And so there are people doing it all kinds of ways. There's no right or wrong. And so I think that's a really cool thing about listening to a podcast like this is you can hear that, and see what all those different ways are, and then sort of take little things from here and there and figure out the way you want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that, I if I'm being honest, I have a very love-hate relationship with the state of the music business right now, because I think that, the artists aren't getting paid what they should be because of streaming and things like that. But I also think if there's a good piece of it is that people have access to your music now more than ever. I mean, it's available. I have access to know your process, like what we're talking about right now. And it is very uncharted territory for so many reasons about how music's getting made. And I would say that there's as much good music being made now than there has ever been.
Absolutely. I also think just from an artist perspective, there's a lot more ways now to create an artist-friendly career for yourself from the business side of things. Cutting out major labels who were taking advantage of artists for so long because it was the only way to get your music to the masses. And now you can, like that other guy I mentioned, can do it completely from your bedroom if you want. So I think that is a positive thing. Now, like you said, streaming has really hurt the business, and it makes it very hard sometimes for independent artists to monetize their stuff, but there are ways to do it. So hopefully as it continues to evolve, we'll figure out how to kind of rebalance that aspect of it so that people can make a living still making music and touring, and it doesn't become a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All the little ones with the little locks on them, all the little ones with the lights turned off, wanna walk around inside your little rooms. The ones you don't let anybody in, there's ones you said you wouldn't open again. Yeah, I'm gonna get inside of your little rooms. Carve my name on your little toy car, take a little bite out of your candy bar, jump up and down on your bed in my little red boots.
I mean, I would imagine for you releasing this album and what it's about, when you recorded it, where you are in your life, it seems to me that it feels like it's all on your terms, which I think that's has to be a really amazing thing.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I mean, creatively, I've tried to always do things on my terms. But like I said earlier, with structuring how my day-to-day life looks and who I work with and, the kind of things I agree to, as far as promotion or whatever else, that has been more, I would say, even more independent on this record. And I've actually really enjoyed it. It feels more peaceful to me. I wouldn't say I'm a people pleaser necessarily, but I at least feel less pressure to make people happy by agreeing to things that I don't want to do,
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome because we're kind of seeing in real time that, like we said, there are so many different ways to do it that it gives you more of a excuse or a leg up when you say, I'm going to do something differently than what the norm has been, So it has been, like you said, hopefully on my own terms, and I've felt much more at peace in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I do appreciate what you said about social media. I've talked with so many people on here that may not have the same opinion as you, but I think about it, you've embraced it really well, and I like the angle by which you're approaching it.
Thank you.
I think that artists should really pay attention to how you're doing it, and I think I would imagine that you don't put a lot of pressure on yourself, which I think a lot of artists tend to do with social media, that they have to be just cranking out content all the time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I will say I get the other perspective, and because it was sort of how I was when it first became a thing, where I was like, I don't have time for this, and I'm trying to be a musician, not a content creator. So I 100% get why people see it that way. I do think the mindset shift has helped me though, and I think, as I'm seeing it now as an opportunity. There is a certain amount, especially with TikTok, that you kind of have to, the more you do, the more you get out of it. So, I mean,
Right.
I've heard crazy numbers for big artists like, Justin Bieber posted something like 800 pieces of content or something on his release week. Like there, and obviously he has a huge, massive team of people helping him execute that, which is hard for an indie artist to keep up with. But yes, I try to be consistent, but I don't, I also try to have fun with it. Like, I don't just look at it as like, there's kind of two brains. Like, yes, I want to promote my music and do the business side of things, but I also want to share things about myself that I can connect with people on a genuine level with, because that's interesting to me. Like I said, I bought land 45 minutes away. I'm about to build my first house. And that's a process that I've never done. So I've shared a little bit about that and will continue to. And, people have already given me tips of things that I hadn't thought of, so there's just an element. I'm trying to look at it in a positive light. It's here, it's not going away, and you don't have to use it. But if you are going to use it, you can figure out a way that maybe is enjoyable to you.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to explain it. No, I completely agree with you. In reading some things about you, I think you've listed influences from like Led Zeppelin to Ralph Stanley to Ricky Skaggs, and all of those are near and dear to my heart. What do you think they all have in common for you? I mean, what's the middle ground with all of them for you?
Yeah, I think there's, to all the people I love, whether it's George Jones or Ralph Stanley or Led Zeppelin or even the Strokes or Franz Ferdinand or someone, they all have kind of a raw, soulful element. And I think people usually think of soul as like R&B soul, like the genre, but I mean soulful, like here, not overly cleaned up, overly produced, just something that allows their genuine expression to come through. They're not putting on a character or, it's interesting because I would say, like, I really love Lana Del Rey, who sort of has created a character in many ways, but it feels like a very genuine expression of who she is, even in that case, So yeah, I think it's just about the music coming from a very genuine, soulful place and allowing some of maybe those imperfections and things to come through that show people what's different about you and, your genuine soul expression. I think that's the thing that all those people have in common, even though the music is very different.
Yeah, it comes from a place of honesty. And I'm with you on that. I mean, I understand that George Jones is, I guess, technically a country singer, but he's a soul singer to me. I mean,
absolutely.
He is pouring his heart into every note. And
yes.
No, he's a soul singer. Yeah, I'm with you about that. Did you feel, I mean, I remember growing up, my dad was like a big Merle Haggard fan, and it was all about country music. And I felt a little bit of a, when you get to that certain age, you feel a rebellious thing against your parents, Did you do that, or have you always kind of stayed true to the music that you like?
I obviously grew up in a household of very traditional country music, and my mom listens to a lot of different kind of music, but she's not big on rock. Like, she hasn't listened to a ton of rock stuff, and even bands like Coldplay, who I love. She's just not as familiar with that. So I think there is an element where there was definitely a time when I would tell people I don't like country music, but what I meant was I don't like modern country music, or what was playing on the radio at the time. And so I think I've always loved traditional country, but it's not like I'm not a person clearly who is making traditional country albums or that sort of the only genre I like, or I'm not a purist, I guess is the right way to look at it. But I think when I started getting into middle school age, I was like, that's when my rock phase began and never went away. I also had at the same time, though, almost, I was having a huge bluegrass phase. I learned to play the banjo, and, like I said, Ralph Stanley is one of my favorite artists ever. And so, sorry, car, but but yeah, so I got into rock, and that's not something that necessarily my family is super into, but it remained with me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I did that, and I'm 100% all of that. I mean, yeah, it was not the stuff on the radio. It was the, the honest music. That's what I was drawn to. I'm choosing my words carefully.
I
know. What drew you to bluegrass music? I'm so curious about that.
It's funny because I always compare bluegrass. I always compare banjo and bluegrass to like electric guitar and rock. Like I feel like it has even though, we've got a totally different genre, all acoustic. If somebody's playing it the same way, it's got that same raw energy, like we were talking about earlier. And obviously I love harmonies. I love singing. So that's a big part of, friends of mine who didn't grow up listening to bluegrass. Some of them, I mean, you don't have to listen to bluegrass to learn harmony, but it's a great way to learn that and have that harmony ear. And so as a singer, I think bluegrass really appeals to me because of that. But then like some of my favorite bluegrass stuff has been like some of the more, left of center stuff, like Steve Earle making records with Del McCoury, and then some of the really early stuff like Ralph Stanley, that's still super raw, and not necessarily like newgrass stuff. And I implore all bluegrassers out there, you don't need to overtune and slick up your records.
I agree. There's a punk rock element to a lot of bluegrass, and I freaking love it.
Yes. So that's the stuff that appealed to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I completely agree. And I think that there's such beauty in the imperfection of it. I think that's where the magic lies. It sometimes it can be so technically perfect that it's like, it's almost sterile. It's like,
right. It takes the soul out of it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know. Like my stepdad always said, like, you can listen to a record like the ones we discussed earlier, and it's like, no matter how many times you can listen to them for so long and still be hearing new things, because there's so much happening and so many little imperfections and soul expressions happening in the music. Whereas when something is super cleaned up, every note is perfect. There's nothing left to discover. You hear it once and what else is there to hear, Yeah. So I think that's kind of the difference maybe.
Yeah, I agree. And I do hear that. I hear the raw, the honesty, and just the raw energy on this new album of yours. It's polished, but it's raw at the same time. You know what I mean? I realize I'm like probably not. It may not be making sense what I'm saying, but I hope I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like
100%. Yes, I do like. I like things to sound hi-fi in a way, but hopefully not take the soul out of it, that element out of it. And, we don't go in there and fix every single note on the guitar and every single note I've sang, and little, something may not be perfect, but it's, a soul. I feel like on the song For You, which is the only song on the record I didn't write, my friend Lily Mae wrote it, but, she had initially just sent me, a voice memo of that song, and her voice memo of it. I'm like, I want to put your voice memo on my record because it's so good. And although I made a more produced, version of that on the record, I still wanted to retain some of that, hopefully in the vocal. And so, yes, like you said, I do like things to sound hi-fi and like hopefully some professionals made it, but not lose all the elements of soul.
Yeah, it doesn't all have to line up to the grid and be auto-tuned to death or anything. Yeah, it's okay for there to be some air and some breath in there. It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go, I just love to hear about what the next few months looks like for you. So you're gonna go out and tour this. You're gonna get on the road and play some shows for it. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm very excited. So Jade Jackson and I, who have a side project with Jackson Sellers, we're doing a tour together where we're both doing solo sets, and then we're going to do some Jackson Sellers songs at the end because we didn't really get to play much. It was on the tail end of COVID. So we're very excited to get to play some of that stuff live. That's going to be a super fun tour. That's the one I was talking about earlier. And then I'm out again this year with Parker McCullum, who I've been singing in his band with him, and it's been super fun. And then I'm also going to open shows for him in June on the West Coast. And then I have some other little shows here and there. I'm doing South by Southwest. And, you know, some other things like that, some stuff in Nashville. And so all that will be on my website, but it's my first time playing this much in a very long time. So I'm excited.
Oh, I'm just so happy for you and just I'm just blown away with this new album. And I just encourage everyone to go out and get it, listen to it. It's just so good, and go out and hear a show, and yeah, just give Aubrie all the love, because it's good. Yeah, it's really good. Well, best of luck, and thanks for hanging out with me today. I've had a really good time chatting with you.
Thank you so much. Me too.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow or subscribe to the Bandwich Tapes wherever you listen, and consider leaving a rating or review. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.